G'day, I'm Malcolm Douglas. I'll just get this mud crab out of here. Come on, mate. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we are. Ah. Now that's not a bad mud crab. Look at that. Years ago, I made a film called Survival in the Outback, and that was really successful. So what I've done now is made another film to show you how I cope and enjoy myself out here in the bush. There's only one thing wrong with mud crabbing, are the sandflies. Now in the tropics, most of us come out underdressed, without long pants on and a long shirt like I'm dressed now. Now if the sandflies are really bad, you've got an instant repellent here. All you have to do is get lots of mud on you, and this will definitely stop the sandflies, and it's often preferable to put mud all over yourself rather than end up with severe sandfly infection. You might even end up in hospital. Put plenty of mud on, and all the exposed places, even a bit around the forehead and around the back of the neck there and shoulders where they get at you. Put the hat back on. Get this mud on all the exposed places, even a little bit round the dog on his ears there because of the sandflies. All this is worth it when you've got huge mud crabs. And I've got one right here under this log. There he is. There he is. Come on. Whoops. Come on. Out of there. Come on. Come on. Another beautiful crab. Out in the bush taking photos and bird watching is very pleasant, very relaxing. But if you're in a situation where you need a fire to keep warm or to cook some food and you don't have any matches, well, you could be in trouble. But you can use your camera, or in this case, I'm going to use a pair of binoculars. In a survival situation, you could literally smash the front lens out of your camera and use that to start a fire. Or I can just unscrew the front section of my binocs here, and there we are, and I can use that as a magnifying glass. The secret of starting a fire like this is to have very dry grass or extremely dry bark, and I always use, if I can find it, pieces of kangaroo dung. See these little pieces here? That powders up beautifully. Just in the base of the grass there, and grab the magnifying glass and concentrate the sun rays down into the middle of all that there. There we are, about 20 seconds and we've got fire. This is one of the best things you can have in the bush, a travelling washing machine. Any sort of drum will do. Just tie it into the back of the vehicle or the caravan or the trailer. Just add a bit of water. A little bit of soap powder. Throw in the clothes, which always get pretty dirty out in the bush, of course. Put the lid on. drive down the road all day, clothes get bounced around. Once you make camp, rinse them out, hang them up, the clothes are always perfectly clean. At times out in the bush you'll have to lift the back or the front of the vehicle right up for major repairs. Now if you're short of jacks or you don't have jacks, it's a pretty basic and simple way of doing it. I'll locate the base of the A-frame in these two holes here that I've just dug down there, and I'll run some chain around here to lock the top of the A-frame onto the tow ball, and I'll give it a shot. Just don't get under that vehicle, of course, until you've well and truly chocked it up. And that includes you, dog. Don't get under that vehicle, mate, until we've chocked it up, right? Don't you get under that vehicle. How often does this happen in the bush? Flat tyre, get the jack out, and it's either seized up, or in this case it's lost all its oil. It's totally useless. But there is a way of getting that tyre off and changing it, providing you're very careful. All the wheels have got to be chocked, handbrake on, in gear, and now I can proceed to jam logs or rocks under that front diff housing. If there's no rocks around, you can use logs of wood. Just make sure you get a nice firm base for the diff housing and or the springs here. Okay, that should be pretty right. This is the part we have to proceed with a certain amount of care. Have to dig out right in under that tyre. I always feel a little bit tense when I do that, but everything's fine. Now it's just a matter of cleaning this out, putting the other tyre back on, jamming some logs or rocks under the tyre here, tightening it up and driving out, and those rocks under the diff housing will just pop out. These wider tyres are very popular on four-wheel drives today, but it can be a real problem for older people, or if you've got a bad back, to actually change the tyre over, because you're looking at about 35 kilos of weight here, and there is a very easy way of getting the tyre off, realigning it and getting it back on again. Jack the vehicle up the normal way, wheel is ready to come off. Now, it's very difficult and tricky to lift it off. It's very heavy, especially if you've got a back problem. So we've got here Ray's tyre lifter. Ray's a gentleman that invented this, and it's just a piece of great gear. What you do is you just slide that under your tyre like that, see? Just on a nice flat surface. And with a little socket, and this is so easy, you just place the socket on there and you just start winding the tyre lifter up. Very little effort. You wind the rollers up under your tyre. Once those two rollers have taken the weight of the tyre, very simply, you just roll your tyre off. See that? There's no effort and no weight. So easy. When you want to put it back on, you do it exactly the same way in reverse. See how little effort is needed to position that tyre. Without this, if you're elderly or you've got that severe back problem, it is almost impossible by yourself to pick that tyre up and locate it onto those studs. Just look at this, one finger, look. So now I'm about to line it up. Here we are. It's on. This is just what I want. A reasonably straight bit of wattle to make a bush spear. If you've got a spear out along the coast, you can usually pick up a feed. Now down on the beach, straightening up these shafts using the fire. Going the Albert here. A mate of mine, Barty man from the Kimberley. And once we get these shafts straightened up and hardened, we're going to pick up some cod in the morning at low tide. The idea is to heat your shaft. I'm using sand so it won't burn my hand, and then use pressure from your foot and work along the shaft until you get it nice and straight. This way it hardens the wood as you straighten it. The cod remain in these rock holes at low tide, and we have to flush them out with our spears. That only took us about half an hour. They wedge themselves right in under the coral, and with the point of the spear, you find where the gills are. And that kills the fish instantly, then you can ease them out. So when you're out in the bush, you know what you're doing, it's a good way to get a feed. Come on, Boone, don't cut yourself. I've just put this rod and reel on the pack rack to demonstrate how you don't carry your fishing gear. I don't know how many times I see guys travelling around Australia and they stick their rod and reel up there, and it just makes me cry because all the insects, all the mud catches on these, stones coming from other cars chip them here, your line gets chipped, you get mud in there, and it's just a disaster. So when you're ready to go fishing, your line breaks and everything clags up. It's just terrible. I'll show you the right way to do it. This is the way I prefer to carry my rods on a long trip, in plastic tubes. All you do is take your rod, place it in there, jam it in with a bit of sponge rubber. You can go all over Australia for a year or more and you won't break your eyes. What happens is people throw their rods in the back of the car, drop them in the boat, and these eyes get chipped or broken or squashed. It's just a fact of life, and of course when you go fishing you're very disappointed because your line's catching on it or you can't fish. Even when you're in the boat, just carry your rod always in your tubes. I've got a couple of rods in here, a game rod and a light spinning rod. A third one, which is a very interesting rod. It's a new concept in fishing rods. It's a Daiwa one, it's called an interline. All you do is thread your line up the middle there and away you go. It's a very nice rod. In fact, it's won awards all over the world, this rod. And I really like it. In fact, I might even go and catch a fish now because I'm very close to the coast. You use this stainless steel wire which you carry with you at all times to thread your line down the inside of the rod. So you just pop it through the only eye on the rod and just feed it down like so. That'll do me. There we are, little Helco lure, and I'll change my hats because this one doesn't blow off and get lost in the water. Righto, Bundy, you like that one? We'll go and catch a fish. Low tide in the mangroves. This looks like a likely spot to flick a lure. Beautiful mangrove jack. Whenever I find some feathers along the coast, I always keep them because they can make a very good lure. Just by taking these feathers, stripping them down, winding them on a hook, I can usually get myself a really good feed. I'll just strip these feathers down on one side, take about 2 centimetres off the top, like so. I've got 3 or 4 of them here. There we are. See, now we just put those together on the hook. The idea of having that bare section along the top is so I can tie it onto the hook. Righto. There we are. Now it's just a matter of binding it up and see if I can catch a fish. Once they go through the water, it'll be like a little bait fish. See that there? And they all pull back. Little lures often catch big fish. We're all familiar with the traditional Australian camp oven. Great if you've got a permanent camp or a big stock camp where you want to set up for several days, make your bread, cook your stews, and they're very effective, but they're also very awkward to carry around if you're doing a lot of travelling. That would weigh probably around about 30 kilos. This one here, called the Hillbilly camp oven, is now on the market and it is simply brilliant. See how light it is? See it there, it's very deep. Now it's got more than one use. You've got a camp oven here and you've got a lid for it. The lid goes on there and you'll have a handle. See this handle with these little wide clips on it? That makes it easier for getting the lid off and on. Once you take the lid off, you've now got yourself a very large frying pan. Take the handle off there, pop it on, and there you have your camp oven without the lid, or a big stewing pot. I am now going to cook myself a big lump of beef and some roast potatoes right on the coals. That's a nice lump of beef into the bottom of the camp oven, some olive oil, and just drop the potatoes in there, around there, the carrot, and put the lid on. All I have to do is put a few coals on the top there, come back in an hour or two, and it'll be perfect. It's an hour and a half later. We'll just have a look at this meat. Oh, wow. It's just done to perfection. Look at that. The camp oven lid now becomes a pan to fry up the onions to go with the meat. If you want a more substantial oven in the bush, this is the perfect answer. Simple to make and very efficient. Down below here, you've got a 20-litre drum with a lid on it. Holes cut in here, so when your fire's going, you just place it on there. Fire, of course, in there. Large flue at the back. The heat rises. The heat goes up around the second 20-litre drum. This is your oven. You put your bread in there, or your roast dinner, close it up. All the heat is held in by this ant bed. Just a matter of mixing the ant bed up with a bit of water and slapping it on. Very easy to make and very efficient. Any time's a good time in the bush for a cup of tea, but there's probably more arguments about how you make a cup of tea than just about anything else. Now, my way is not necessarily your way. This is the way I prefer to do it. Oh, by the way, you notice when I lift the billy off the fire, I use the pliers. I never use a handle because you pick it up like that with a stick, it can break. And quite often I take the handles off the billy and I don't have a handle on my frying pan. I always use the pliers because people come along and they grab it, and it's hot, and they drop it and they burn themselves. I always use the pliers. It's one for each person, and nice one for the pot. Now this is where we get into arguments. I take the billy now and put it back on the fire. I actually bring it back up to the boil. My mother would be appalled. Once it's boiled for a minute or two, in goes the cold water, cool it down, and it's traditional to tap the billy. This tapping causes all your tea leaves to settle down, wait for a minute, what I call a perfect bush cup of tea. Billy tea. A swag is one of the most important pieces of equipment in the bush. I don't have one, I have four, depending on the climatic conditions and just where I'm going to go. This one here is my tropical swag. It's very small, or if I have to travel long distances, all it is just a canvas and mosquito net which I can put up, one sheet and one very small piece of sponge rubber because I don't like a thick mattress. That's the first one. Your second one is the one that you use, say, in the desert in the winter when it's very cold. So I'll just give you a quick look at this, spread it out. This one is my winter swag, waterproof canvas. You can actually tie it up and suspend it like a tent. And inside it, of course, I've got a -10 sleeping bag and a piece of sponge rubber and a sheet and a pillow. And if it's a warmer night, you can just open it up on these clips. There we are, and of course when it's really cold, the canvas goes back over the top. And that's your winter swag. And I can't stress enough that when you're out in the western desert, the great sandy desert in the winter, you've got to have a good swag because the wind chill factor out there is just unbelievable. It's not unusual for you to get -10s or -13s in the western desert, so you've got to be well prepared. This one here is the same type of swag, but inside it's got a heavier mattress. That one is for friends that prefer a thicker mattress. See that there? We've got a very thick mattress in there. I don't personally like that. That's too thick for me, but for the average person that's ideal. So that's got a blanket in it, a mosquito net and a sheet. This is my latest swag, and it's the best one that I've ever had by far. All I have to do is roll it out, and I've got large flaps over the bedding, keeps everything nice and clean. The flaps just go out like so. There we are, and a very large mosquito net stitched into the canvas along the bottom. So I just have to tie it up from one point only. That just takes a second or two to tie it up, and now it's ready. I take the boots inside so no scorpions or centipedes can get into the boots at night. In you go, and you just zipper it up, and you're ready for a perfect night's sleep. Oh. The other great advantage of this swag is, as soon as you've finished in the morning with it, it's just a matter of untying it and lying it down there. It all stays in place, and you roll all your flaps up, keeps it all clean. If it's very cold or you're in a boat or whatever and you don't need that mosquito net, you unzip it and just put it over to one side, so you can still use this swag without the mosquito net. Leave him there. Leave him. Leave him. Leave him. On a long trip in the bush, we've always got this problem of how much water do we carry and where do we store the water. One of the great ways of carrying a certain amount is in this storm water pipe. You can get 100 mil, 150 mil, 200 mil. You buy it from your local hardware or your local plumber supply. All you do is buy whatever length you want. You buy the ends, stick it on with a bit of glue, buy yourself a tap of any description. The plumber will help you out. Little tap here, and the other end, of course, is just got the bung there where you fill it up. Now, a lot of people put this up on their pack rack. I don't like that option because it's very heavy and it tends to make your vehicle roll a little bit. I prefer to put it on the bull bar where you can get to it very easily, and I spray it black so it will absorb the heat, because I basically use this water for cleaning up my billies and my face and my hands after we've been changing the tyre, all the other things you do in the bush. And so by painting it black, at the end of the day, we've got hot water. I'm just tying it in position there, make sure it's okay. Then I'll just wire it up, twitch it up, and ready to go. When you're out in the bush, especially in the arid areas, you've got to be really aware of something like that. See that water? That means I've got a leak in one of my water containers. And I stress one of my water containers, because you don't carry your water in only one container. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Some metal ones, one big aluminium one, a couple of jerry cans, and these plastic ones, because if one splits, like, just get rid of these little containers. Down here, I've got one which is probably on the way out. See that? Now I've only had 2 or 3 big containers bouncing along the corrugated road, over the sand dunes. End of the day, stinking hot, you get out, all your water containers are split. So I can't stress enough, make sure you carry plenty of water, a number of water containers. Bundy, you want a drink? Come on. Hey, drink. How often have you been driving along and you feel so hungry that you could eat anything? Well, I'll tell you what, you can cook your spuds, your potatoes, very easily driving down the road. I'll show you how. If you want these to cook reasonably quickly, you cut them into a half or even a quarter. Wrap your potatoes up first thing in the morning. Place them in your preferred position, and when you're hungry, they're already cooked. Some of the best times I've had in the bush are with my old tribal Aboriginal mates. In North Australia in the early days, the Aboriginal people used to make a paperbark raft for crossing rivers and getting through flooded areas. Now, I'm not suggesting that you cut down trees or take paperbark from the big melaleucas, but in a survival situation, or if you have to cross a river, it's a very handy skill to know. The first thing we want to do, oh, by the way, this is my old mate, Uggerman. He's a Nurrigan tribesman from the Kimberley. Uggerman and I have done some big trips together. In the early days, you showed me how to do this once before, eh?
Yeah.
And now you're going to teach me again?
Oh, yeah.
I've even got 2 rocks, eh, to make a proper axe.
Yeah.
Right, I'll just get a sharp edge on him. He's proper hard one.
Yeah, my heart.
Here.
You got it.
You got him now.
Yeah.
Just sharpen up so we won't even have to use an axe. We can use a rock to strip the bark from this little tree here. Loosen the bark by tapping it all the way up the trunk. Yeah.
Come on. You got him.
Yep.
Yeah, we get him right in here like this.
Yeah.
We don't need that
We'll use that.
brown one.
No, we don't use the brown
No,
one.
only want this one in here.
And the white
the one?
That's the good one. No?
That's the good one, look.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him?
That's the one. No?
The number one.
Number
oh,
one.
look,
See?
he coming.
He coming like
He
a rope
coming?
now. He
That's
coming
the
like
one?
a rope.
See, that's the one we're going to use
Yeah, that's the one.
to twine our raft together,
Yeah.
make our frame. Can you trust him?
If I pull down, right?
I'm not falling down.
Get him by oh, look at that, look at that. One. Are you getting now?
Come right down here, eh? Yeah. Where you want that stick? Oh, yeah. That big mug, what about that little one? That's both for operation. Oh, yeah, they wrap the baby up in it too, eh? Yeah. Some guys put it. Ready? Will you be ready? Yeah, good one. One. Good. Fortunately, when the outer layer of the tree is taken off, the tree does not die. The Aborigines used paper bark for wrapping their food in, carrying things. They also used it in the wet season to make a wet season house, beautiful and soft for sleeping in. And you also wrap the baby up in it. Hey, Agerman, that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wrap the baby up in it. Has many uses. It's like the alfoil of the bush.
And dead body.
And dead body.
Yeah,
They wrap the dead body and put him up on the platform.
Yeah.
That's him.
That's a good one.
Good one.
Yeah, good one. Nice and hollow.
Yeah, now, right?
Wala niyan ko meri.
Ajay unya berai.
Wala na.
Bagi ya. Yeah, mama ada bal. Mama ada bal ya, mere.
This one my bed.
Oh, you gonna have a sleep there.
That's the one.
Oh, good. Proper shop one too. Proper shop one. It's like a mat.
I got in bed. See, come here, dog. You can sleep here.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can sleep there too, look.
Yeah, right in the middle.
yeah,
Right in the
sleep
middle.
The men have collected this very dry old pandanus wood for the frame. Now we just tie it together with the bush string. I'm getting the string ready here. Put the paper bark on. We can go for a nice paddle.
Ano mo na? Pwede ko. Ah, muni mo man yan.
Want to put that little one? Yeah. All right, you can chuck in the next one. Got the frame in the water. Now it's just a matter of putting all this paper bark on. And I'll go for a paddle. Go for walkabout. Hagerman reckon I'm going for walkabout. You can't go walkabout in a boat.
No. You got him, woman?
Yep, I got him.
That's a good one. You got him?
Yeah, but put him this way.
Yeah, I like that. That's him.
Here we are.
You got him. Bill, you got him.
Get him straight. Put them all on. But I'll try him out first.
Yeah.
With my dog.
Yeah, I think I'm more going to be ready. He can go right.
That's him.
You got him now.
We got him. Before European contact, these rafts were used to move the very old and the very young and all their possessions and dogs across the rivers and across the flooded plains.
Come on. Come on. Here. 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 Big jump. Here. Big. Big. Come on. Come on. Big. Bundy. Here. Big. Get over. Get over. Oh, sit.
You're not boat now.
See you later.
See you.
That's it.
This is lunch. The women have caught a turtle and some exceptionally large sooty grunter.
This is a big one, though.
Take out what are you?
Old Uggerman just loves his turtle meat.
Ngaji nyang mo julo ka wada mo nun.
I'm on the road again, and I'll see you next week. When we come back to Broome, there's always work to do, and today we have to catch some of these larger crocs out of what we call our growing out pens and move them down the back into the breeding pens. Fast growing crocs, great for breeding and good for display. So what we do is we get very strong rope, we place a noose in it like so, take this bottom section over the top, in underneath, pull it through. So we've got two loops. This bottom loop, we just drop that over the top jaw of the croc. Be very careful it doesn't get hold of your leg. Pull it tight, so now you've got hold of the croc. You pull him into the tube, keep well away from the other crocs, of course. When you've got him in the tube, you've got this free end, just pull that end and the rope comes free. Pretty easy if you know what you're doing. Let's go and catch a croc. Definitely a male, yeah. Pull it off quickly. So if you ever end up working on a crocodile farm, that's how you catch a crocodile. And they're very heavy.
In part 2 of In the Bush with Malcolm Douglas, Malcolm demonstrates many more ways to cope and enjoy the Australian bush. Catching and tying up mud crabs, a portable rescue tree for bogged vehicles, an easy way to cast a throw net, bush food, the traditional way to salt and preserve meat, Aboriginal camp cooking, four-wheel drive tips, a great remedy for bad backs, and much more. See you next week.